This is music, and these are the last first impressions of the year. So I did it. I chewed my way through the entire halls, or at least the blind buy portions of the halls I showed in the first two videos. I've made it. These are the last ones I listened to. I had lots of fun listening to the blind buys and sharing my first impressions with you guys. This is going to be the last batch of the year, and let's just get to business. The first one here, Narcotic Greed. And I think I said in the haul video I expected this to be crossover thrash, and I was kind of wrong. It is thrash, but it's not crossover. It's melodic thrash metal with soaring vocals and a lot of mid-tempo parts and some influences from traditional metal, but it is thrash metal. And at points it almost becomes kind of like semi-technical metal. I expected crossover. I was hoping for crossover. I didn't get that. I got something that I enjoy just as much as crossover. Melodic thrash metal. This, if you're into Anthrax, Anoxia maybe, In Search of Sanity by Onslaught, that sort of thrash metal, I think you might like this. The vocals might be an acquired taste for some people, but I really enjoyed this album. It's just good fun all the way through. There are some elements from crossover, by the way, I should mention, but it's melodic thrash metal. Great stuff. The next one is Nuclear Jehovirus, with this gruesome cover artwork with baby corpses and skeletal pope and whatnot. So based on the cover artwork, I thought this might be perhaps some kind of black metal, or maybe blackened death metal or something like that. This is also thrash metal. This is very much inspired by Latter-day Slayer. It's not a Slayer ripoff, but it's quite inspired by it. The vocalist sounds also like he takes a lot of cues from latter-day Tom Araya, which I appreciate, because in all honesty, I prefer old Tom Araya's voice to young Tom Araya's voice. The old voice just sounds a bit more brutal and a bit more angry. So, but that's just my opinion. So this is thrash metal, and I really enjoyed it. It's aggressive, with blistering guitar solos, not shreddy or anything like that, but still fast and angry. And there's a really cool song on it that I enjoy. Well, I like all the songs, but one called Brutal Yet Precise. And I guess it kind of describes their own music a bit. It's angry, kind of brutal thrash metal, but not sloppy or anything like that. I really enjoyed it. It's good fun. If you just like thrash metal, check this one out. Up next is October 31, Meet Thy Maker. And I didn't even know this when I bought it, but as an extra bonus, I discovered that it came with this here, Visions of the End, as an extra disc, and there are even like 5 bonus tracks in that disc. Now, we're dealing with traditional heavy metal here, with a sense of melody, with cues from hard rock and things like that. But there's also like sprinklings of, the more hard-edged US power metal. US power metal has always been a bit more hard-edged than European power metal. So this is not US power metal, but it has, just the hard-hittingness, if that's a word. Both Visions of the End and Meet Thy Maker are characterized by this kind of style. They are both characterized by an unpolished, but not terrible, but unpolished production. The vocals are not like your typical soaring or high-pitched or operatic vocals. They're a bit more gruff, but we're not talking Lemmy gruff. One thing that's interesting is that there are times when the vocalist kind of reminds me of Mick Jagger. So it's that kind of gruffness, you know what I mean? Especially on the bonus tracks on the Visions of the End disc. This is really solid stuff, really enjoyable traditional metal. If you like traditional metal, but you like it cheese-free, for the most part, I think you're going to enjoy this October 31 album. Up next is Centeria, Art of Aggression. This one here. This is modern thrash metal. So up-tempo, again, with, I don't know if I would call it death thrash, but it has harsh vocals. It's really good. All the songs are excellent here. It has, compared to, for example, compared to Narcotic Greed here, this is more brutal. This is more aggressive. It's not mellow death, but it has maybe some mellow death sensibilities, if you know what I mean. But overall, another really enjoyable thrash metal album. And it's pretty cool that I've mentioned 3 thrash metal albums here. They all sound different. We got more thrash, Scum Ripper, All Veins Blazing, and as you can see, it's a bit hard to see, but it's a 3-piece. This is blackened thrash. It does seem to be very inspired by Motorhead, but it's not a Motorhead ripoff, but it's kind of like in that same vein, like maybe a bit simplistic, a bit punky. There are lots of songs on this album too. One thing that's interesting is that it's punky, it's simplistic, it's primitive. The production is not polished, but it's not lo-fi. But there are times when they just suddenly start doing something that's a bit more melodic, which I think is interesting, or a bit more just refined. There's some bursts of that, so I think that's pretty cool. So Scum Ripper, a great name, not as great as Death Fucker, but it's kind of like almost as great as Hell Ripper. So it's that sort of stuff. So yeah, you could call it maybe blackened speed thrash or something like that. I really enjoyed listening to it, to be honest. It's a bit on the dirtier side, of course, but great stuff again. Scum Ripper, All Veins Blazing. And finally, the last one, Shredding Consequences Against the Corporate World. I expected this to perhaps be some kind of metalcore, maybe, or something along the lines of that. Lo and behold, more thrash metal. Aggressive thrash metal, but what's interesting about this one is that they take the best from groove metal, right? It's not groove metal, but they take the best from groove metal, so there are lots of groovy parts to it. They also take some elements from metalcore, but again, I feel like they take the best from metalcore and incorporate it into their thrash metal style. Maybe it is metalcore, I don't think it is, but then again, I spent many years living my life thinking that Shadows Fall was thrash metal until somebody said it's metalcore. At the end of the day, I don't care. If I like it, I like it, and I like this. Chaos Monger Madness is the grooviest song on the album, and it's actually really awesome. It's followed by a song called You Make Me Sick, equally awesome. The vocals are very similar to Jeff Walker, and I'm actually not sure, but I think it's a female vocalist, so going for a harsh vocals style. Very, very high, I think, but that applies to pretty much all of them. A high level of musicianship. So Shredding Consequences, I think it's thrash metal. If you think it's metalcore, you know, we can go outside and fight it. No, we can't. We're entitled to our own opinions, of course, but I think it's great stuff. I really enjoyed it. So for my money, I think it was like six great albums, in each in their own different way. Most of it was thrash. A great way for me to finish off my first impressions listening to Blind Buys. I enjoyed this so much that this is going to be the last first impressions video of the year, but I'm going to do more next year because I have some orders out that are going to come in next year with a number of blind buys in them. And again, blind buys, cheap, right? We're talking like maybe €1, maybe €5, something like that, right? No more than that, with one or two exceptions. But it's all worth it. So there's going to be more like this. But for now, this was the last first impressions. I hope you've enjoyed me rambling on about my first impressions of these blind buys and enjoyed watching me be wrong in my predictions so many times. For now, thanks for watching.